so much for inviting me. My name is Yvonne Lagarde. I'm a volunteer with RSVP, Retired and Senior Volunteer Program. And we offer a whole series of different seminars on nutrition. We also offer a series on managing diabetes. And we have a new series coming on caring for the care provider. So this is one of 7 nutrition classes, and today's topic is sugar in the body, making sense of sugar, the tobacco of the 21st century. Now, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a health care provider. The information that I'm sharing with you today is general information. If you have specific questions about your health, you need to address those with your health care provider. So what is sugar? Sugar is a carbohydrate. And these things are examples of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates come from plant-based foods, and they're made from plants, and some dairy products have carbohydrate in them. Carbohydrates are found in fruits, a few vegetables, milk, yogurt, beans, grains, and sweets. And carbohydrates are in anything that's made with flour or sugar. Okay. Carbohydrates. When you eat a carbohydrate, you eat a chocolate chip cookie, you eat an apple, it's digested in your stomach, and it's broken down into sugar, or we call it glucose. Glucose is another word for sugar, and it enters into your bloodstream. What do carbohydrates do for you? They're the only nutrient that provides you energy for daily activities. If you didn't eat carbohydrates, you would not be able to move your muscles, your brain would not function. You need glucose to function. So carbohydrates are needed on a consistent basis to feed the brain with sugar, and that's the primary energy source of the brain. That's why if you know anybody who maybe has diabetes and their sugar levels go low, what happens to them? They get confused. They're not sure where they are because the brain doesn't have enough sugar. So carbohydrates provide food for every single cell in our body. There are 3 types of carbohydrates: sugar, starch, and fiber. And today we're going to focus just on sugar. Where does sugar come from? Sugar cane. It's a relatively natural product. It's called a simple carbohydrate, and it's called simple because when you eat sugar, you digest it very quickly. Fiber, for example, is a complex carbohydrate. When you eat it, it takes a long time to digest it. Some sugars are found naturally in food. As you know, fruit has sugar in it. Other foods we add sugar to. Sugars that occur naturally in your food, like in fruit, are much healthier to eat than, of course, eating a chocolate chip cookie. And that's because these foods not only have sugar in them, but they have other nutrients. When you drink milk has sugar in it, right? But it also has calcium, which is good for you. When you eat a piece of fruit, yes, you're getting some sugar, but you're also getting vitamin C, and you're getting fiber, things that are good for you. All right. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about what carbohydrates do. I'm going to talk a little bit about chemistry and then try to make it understandable. So number 1, when you eat a carbohydrate, you eat a piece of fruit, you eat a cookie, whatever, a donut, you digest it and it's converted into sugar, which gives your body energy. And we call sugar, when it's in your blood, glucose, or blood sugar. Once your stomach converts the food into sugar, it kind of leaves your stomach and goes into your bloodstream. But there's a problem. Too much sugar in your bloodstream is not a good thing. So if you eat tons of food with sugar in it, and you digest it, and you're dumping all that sugar into your bloodstream, that is not a good thing. High levels of sugar, see all these little white things? Here's an artery, this little white stuff. That's a lot of sugar in that person's bloodstream, too much sugar, and that person's going to have hyperglycemia, high sugar levels. When our body digests the food and puts the sugar into the blood, how does the sugar get from your blood to your cells, to your muscle cells, to your brain? It needs a transporter, a little bus. And that transporter is insulin. So when you deposit glucose into your bloodstream, and you have a lot of it in there, more than your blood needs, insulin is secreted so it can take that sugar out of your blood, because you don't want to have blood sugar in your blood. So where does insulin take all this sugar? One of three places. Insulin can take the sugar out of your blood to your muscles, it can take the sugar out of your blood to your liver, or it can take the sugar out of your blood into your fat cells. So let's pretend that these places are storage rooms where we store sugar. The liver and the muscles are storage rooms with one door. So insulin always tries to stuff all that sugar into your muscle cells, but there's only one door, so it can't fit it all in there. Then, if it can't get it in your muscle cells, it tries to store it in your liver. But if there's a lot more sugar or glucose in your blood, where does insulin take all that extra sugar? To your fat cells. And guess what? Your fat cells have hundreds of doors. Your fat cells love to receive sugar. And they can take as much sugar as you want to get them. So here's a fat cell, and it can keep on filling up on more and more sugar, and it converts it to fat. So when you have too much sugar in your bloodstream, what are you doing? Making fat. Okay. So now that you know this, how can you make this information work for you? Not all carbohydrates are converted into sugar at the same rate. Remember, if when we eat food, it converts to sugar, but we don't want to put a ton of sugar in our bloodstream all at once. We just want to put a little bit at a time. And if we put a little bit of sugar at a time into our bloodstream, our muscles and our liver will store it, which is a good thing. So we want to try to eat carbohydrates that are converted to glucose slowly so that our liver and our muscles will accommodate them. Carbohydrates that turn to glucose too quickly are converted to fat. Something that's interesting to me. I always used to worry about my weight. I'm a weightlifter, so I'm pretty heavy. And if you look at this, you can see 5 pounds of muscle and 5 pounds of fat. So somebody can have a lot of fat, nice fluffy fat around their tummy, right? And not be as heavy as somebody like me who has more muscle. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? All right. So how do we know how fast a carbohydrate's going to turn into sugar? There's something that's called the glycemic load. And it's a rating of how fast a food will turn into sugar, and it rates foods from 1 to 50. Foods with a rating over 15 are bad carbohydrates. That means when you eat them, they're converting to fat. Foods that have a rating less than that are not being converted to fat. So why are those bad carbohydrates being converted to fat? Because you digest them very, very quickly, and they dump tons of sugar into your blood, and insulin takes all that sugar to your fat cells. What kinds of foods are we talking about? You all know, right? All the good stuff that tastes good, that's fun to eat. Processed foods. Anything processed, basically, when the manufacturers make processed food, they refine it, right? They take grain and they take all the fiber out of it. So a lot of the work of the digestion process has already been done. So when you eat it, your digestive system doesn't have much work to do. So it very quickly converts it to sugar. So that's what I just said. Okay, so here's another example of carbohydrates that when you eat them, they are digested quickly. They put a lot of sugar in your bloodstream. You can't use it all, and it's converted to fat. So bad or simple carbohydrates are found in packaged foods like white bread, pasta, crackers, baked goods. Anything that's made with flour or sugar is going to be digested quickly. Now, when you eat food, so I had a Coke for lunch, I had a hamburger, a couple of chocolate chip cookies, or maybe I had pizza. That's a ton of sugar, right? Right there, right? So you all know when you eat a lot of sugar, you're going to store it as fat, but that's not the only problem. What happens when you eat foods with a lot of sugar? You're dumping all the sugar in your bloodstream, insulin's been released, it's taken all the sugar out of your bloodstream, and then what happens? You crash, right? About 20 minutes later, you feel like really tired, like, whoa. So another reason to not eat too much simple sugar all at once is when your body produces insulin rapidly to get the sugar out of your bloodstream, your body's always looking for chemical balance, right? That's called homeostasis. So when your insulin levels rise up, what happens? Tryptophan starts to rise up. You know tryptophan in turkey, and it makes you feel sleepy. So tryptophan rises up. Tryptophan has a very special quality. All around your brain are these tight little cells. It's called the blood-brain barrier. And it stops chemicals from getting into our brains. But when insulin levels rise up, tryptophan rises up, it seeps through the brain, and it triggers something that's called serotonin. Ooh. Serotonin, our happy hormone. We eat a lot of bad carbs. Insulin rises, tryptophan rises, it releases serotonin, and we feel good. We start to crash, and what do we want? We want more bad carbohydrates. It's addictive. Sugar is like cocaine on a lower level. You get addicted to sugar, and you can't stop eating it. Now, good carbohydrates, on the other hand, they have a score on the glycemic load of 10 or less. When you eat them, like you eat an apple, kale, something like that, it takes a long time to digest. So it's putting sugar into your bloodstream very, very slowly. Good carbohydrates stabilize your blood sugar levels. So here's a chart, and I think you passed this out, Donna, do you or not? No?
Yes, I have this one, yep.
So here's a chart of different types of food and the glycemic load. And Donna's going to pass one of these out to you. Some stuff is interesting. Okay, my mom, 92 years old, been living on cornflakes, since she was born, but loves cornflakes. So 1 cup of cornflakes, pretty low in calories. Only 100 calories, that's not bad, right? Look at the glycemic load, 24. When she eats her 1 cup of cornflakes, what's she doing?
Okay, thank you.
Making fat, right? Okay. Why? Because cornflakes are a processed food. They're very easy to digest. Okay, another thing she always likes is cream of wheat. She feels like that's easy to digest, Cream of wheat, 1 cup, 130 calories. Glycemic load, 22. Okay? She'd be much better off having old-fashioned steel oats that aren't so processed. She's not going to convert that into fat. Now, we all know French fries. Not a surprise, right? They're high in calories, and they're very high in sugar. But here's an interesting one. Ice cream. 1 cup of ice cream has 360 calories. Glycemic load is 10. Not too bad. Oh, but I'm trying to diet and I'm trying to lose weight. I'm going to have low-fat ice cream. Okay. Ice cream, low-fat, 1 cup. Less calories, right? What's the glycemic load? 13. What am I doing? Converting that into fat. So while ice cream, low-fat ice cream, has less fat, what do they do to it? So it tastes good?
Add sugar.
Add sugar right there, right? So you might as well have real ice cream, a smaller amount, and enjoy it. Okay, so here's the big question. How much sugar should I eat every day so I can be relatively healthy? Because we're going to eat sugar, let's be real, right? The American Heart Association says limit sugars, women, 100 calories of added sugar a day. So I'm not talking about the sugar in a pear or an apple. I'm talking about sugar that's added to food. That's about 6 teaspoons. So for a woman, no more than 6 teaspoons of added sugar a day. A man can have a little bit more, about 9 teaspoons, but neither sex should have any more than 10 teaspoons of added sugar a day. But guess what? The average American has 20 teaspoons of added sugar each day, which is 200 to 300 extra calories from sugar daily. We eat way too much sugar. And humans are consuming an average of 46% more sugar per person every day than they were just 30 years ago, thanks to the processing of foods. You know, back in the day, you made bread with real grain, right? Not this white flour. Okay, let's talk about what added sugars are. Added sugar is different from natural sugar. The majority of sugars that are typical in our diet are added to our food either during the processing when they're manufacturing it, or we add it. We take our coffee and we put a teaspoon of sugar in it, right? All right. Why do we add sugar to food? Well, for obvious reasons. It makes things taste good, doesn't it? That's why, a lot of us have coffee, but we put so much stuff in it. Are we really tasting the coffee? Sugar preserves food. When you think of marmalade and jams, they have sugar in them. That preserves them. Sugars also do things like make the food thick and sticky. Like you take a soup and you put sugar into it, it thickens up the soup. It also browns the top of buns and things like that. Sugar just makes food taste good and look good, so we eat it. All right. So we know because sugar makes things taste good and look good and preserve it, nearly everything that we buy at the store that's packaged has sugar in it. One kind of a sugar or another. High fructose corn sugar, white sugar, brown sugar, corn syrup, raw sugar, malt syrup, honey, molasses, they're all the same. They're all sugar, and your body responds to all of these things the same way. Okay? When calories don't provide you with healthy nutrients, they're empty calories. You're just eating these calories, no benefit to you. Soft drinks, candy, and cake are examples of food that have empty calories, and all they have in common is lots of added sugar. You all know, added sugar leads to weight gain, it leads to high blood pressure, high sugar levels, and you're just not getting nutrients that you need. We're going to take a little break. So you're going to have a snack. And what is it? It's plain Greek yogurt with a berry sauce. And what did I do? I picked frozen berries up, put them in a little pot, boiled them up with a little bit of lemon juice, made a sauce out of them, so that it would give some flavor to the plain Greek yogurt. Plain Greek yogurt is really good for you because why? It has lots of protein in it. And what does protein do? Build muscle. So that's what you're going to have. And I didn't know there'd be so many people, so it might be just a tiny taste. Okay. All right. So moving on. Donna's going to, or somebody's going to for me, pass out a handout on chocolate milk and vanilla milk. Donna, has that already been passed out?
No, it hasn't, but I can do that real quick.
So what I want you to do is when you get this handout, it's a label of plain milk, and then it's a label of chocolate milk. And I want you to read the label because you want to learn to read labels. And I want you to tell me how much sugar is in the plain milk, and the milk is 1% low fat, and how much is in the 1% low fat chocolate milk. So I'll let Donna just pass this stuff out, and I won't be insulted if you hate it. Just try to provide people different opportunities here.
I got plenty. They're all made. Yeah, they're all made. Just let me pass out papers and I'll continue.
Thank you.
All right. So Donna's going to pass out this handout. So look at the label and check and see how much sugar is in the 1% low-fat plain milk and how much sugar is in the 1% low-fat chocolate milk. Remember, milk naturally has sugar in it, right?
There you go.
Definitely no sugar.
Thanks, Donna. Should have given you a little high sign. It's been too long. All right.
Just in my cereal.
So somebody who has the handout, how much sugar is in the 1% low-fat plain milk?
11 grams.
You hear anybody?
For what?
11 grams.
11 grams. 11 grams of sugar is in the regular milk. That's natural sugar.
Yeah.
How much sugar is in the low-fat chocolate milk?
27.
27. So what did they do to the chocolate milk? They added more sugar in it. Now, milk naturally has sugar, but you can see from the ingredients, chocolate milk has both natural and added sugars. What kind of sugar did they add to the chocolate milk?
High fructose.
High fructose corn syrup. I don't know if you guys know much about high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
It's the worst sugar you can eat. It is not good for you. And it's added into most processed foods. When you go to the bakery and the hamburger buns have this nice glow on them, what did they do? They painted the hamburger buns with high fructose corn syrup to make them look good. All right. Fructose. Fructose is a kind of sugar. It's a simple sugar and it's found in all fruit. Fructose is also usually the kind of sugar they use when the manufacturers add it into a food. Most sugars, when they convert to glucose, are used in your muscle cells or stored in your liver. But fructose is always processed by your liver. And because it's processed by the liver, it converts the fructose into something called triglycerides. You guys get your cholesterol tested on every 6 months, right? And do you want high triglycerides? No. Triglycerides like a fatty substance that floats around in your blood and can clog your arteries. So when you eat high fructose corn syrup, it's being processed by your liver, and being converted into triglycerides. And that's going to put you at higher risk for heart disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes. And the other problem with high fructose corn syrup, it gets into your blood and into your liver very quickly. It's not something that's processed slowly And so typically, it's going to be converted to fat. Here's some foods that have high fructose corn syrup in them. I really recommend, we all eat sugar, but look for brands of foods that don't have high fructose corn syrup in them. And it's just a better thing to do versus other sugars. Here's another reason why high fructose corn syrup is so bad for you. When your liver converts it to fat, it converts it to the fat that's right here. It's the fat that's kind of inside and it's pressing on your organs. It's called visceral fat. So high fructose corn syrup causes an increase in visceral fat, the harmful abdominal fatty tissue that wraps around your organs. It's associated with increased risk of diabetes, heart disease, and gout. Further, here's another problem with high fructose corn syrup. For some reason, and we don't know why, when you eat it, you don't feel full. So what happens? You eat more. And do the manufacturers know that? Yes. Because if you eat more, they make more money. And they don't care that you're putting a lot of high fructose corn syrup into your body. All right, now fruits also have fructose in them. That's the kind of sugar they have. But fruits also have fiber. So when you eat a fruit, fiber slows down the digestive process and stops the sugar from going into your bloodstream so quickly. So it stabilizes your blood sugar levels. All right. So added sugars like high fructose corn syrup, agave syrup, they don't have fiber in them. And so they're going into your bloodstream very quickly. All right. Hiding in plain sight. Manufacturers are so smart. They just figure out how to sell us stuff, don't they? I mean, if you looked at a label and it said, you know, it had 30 grams of sugar in it, you would say, oh, I'm not going to buy that, right? But see, they're so smart. They hide stuff so you can't find it. And one of the ways that they've done well, manufacturers in the United States have lobbied hard to have all food labels be metric. How many of you are familiar with the metric system? If you're not an engineer or something, probably not. So manufacturers put the food amounts in grams. Well, what's a gram? How much is a gram? Does anybody really here know how much is a gram? You know how much a teaspoon is about, right? Or a tablespoon. But if you see things in grams, you don't really know how much sugar is in there. So this is how many teaspoons of sugar are in these Coke products. And if they told you, you know, what is that? I don't know how many sugars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 teaspoons of sugar in that Coke, would you drink it?
No.
Probably you'd pick something else, right? Because you got it. That's a lot of sugar. So when we pick up a can of soda that contains 40 grams of sugar, we're not sure where grams is, but we have to believe the manufacturer's not trying to poison us, right? So we're going to drink it. But if the label said it contained over 10 teaspoons of sugar, you'd think twice. So it's intentional on the part of manufacturers to confuse the public. They say, aren't we wonderful? We're putting nutrition labels on the product, but nobody can read them or understand them. So here's the rule of thumb. 4 grams equals 1 teaspoon, okay? So if you see something that has 20 grams of sugar, 20 divided by 4 is 5. 1 serving has 5 teaspoons of sugar in it, okay? So we're going to take a look at labels. Donna's going to pass these out again. I have 4 labels. Nutella, Heinz baked beans, I picked that because my mom likes that too. Hostess Cupcake, and Kashi Goleen cereal, which she can't stand. She tells me it tastes like cardboard. I don't know. All right, so remember, 4 grams equals 1 teaspoon. Women shouldn't have more than 6 teaspoons a day. Men, not more than 9.
She'll call you.
Okay, so we've got some volunteers in the audience who are going to read the label. Let's look at Nutella.
I'll let you do
How
this.
much sugar is in Nutella? Who has the Nutella label? Anybody? Somebody?
You share. Who
So
has
somebody
Nutella?
has it, yes. How
21.
much sugar is in Nutella?
21 grams.
And how many servings? What's the serving size?
The serving size is 2 tablespoons.
So 2 tablespoons of Nutella, which you can put on your English muffin, right?
Yeah.
Has 21 grams, even more than mine had, of sugar in it. How many teaspoons is that? 21 divided by 4. 4 goes into 25 in a bit, right?
About 5.
So 2 tablespoons of Nutella has over 5 teaspoons of sugar in it.
Wow.
You might want to pick something else, right?
Yeah.
How about Heinz vegetarian beans? How much sugar?
14 grams,
And what size?
half a cup.
Half a cup. Half a cup is not much, is it? Half a cup, 14 grams. So in Heinz beans, 3.5 teaspoons of sugar. Why do they have to put sugar in beans?
You don't.
I mean, it doesn't make sense, does it? All right, a Hostess Cupcake, we expect to see sugar in that. Who has a Hostess Cupcake? Yes,
19 grams.
19 grams, and the one that I had 21 grams. So one of those little teeny cupcakes, almost 4 teaspoons of sugar in it.
Holy cow.
Kashi Goleen cereal,
8 grams.
8 grams. And it's about a 1 1/4 cups has 8 grams. So if you're gonna choose cereal, if you like cereal, Kashi Goleen, if you're watching your sugar, has less sugar. But like my mom said, it tastes like cardboard. Okay. All right. So added sugars contribute to an average of 16% of the total calories Americans consume. The places that we get most of our added sugar from is soda, sports drinks. You would think sports drinks wouldn't have all this extra sugar in them. Grain-based desserts, anything made out of flour, sugar-sweetened fruit juices. And if you buy fruit juice, don't have added sugar in it, right?
No.
Buy natural orange juice with no added sugar in it. Anything dairy products like chocolate pudding and vanilla pudding, things like that, yogurt, candy. Okay. So put another way, the average American consumes 22 to 28 teaspoons of added sugar every day, and most of it's high fructose corn syrup. Not a good thing. Okay. Now, hidden sugar. Not only do manufacturers measure things in grams, which none of us understand, they don't put down 40 grams of sugar. No, 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 no. They put down 2 grams of sucrose, 1 gram of high fructose corn syrup, 2 grams of dextrose. Do you know what all those things are?
It's all
They're
sugar.
all sugar. So they hide the sugar in the label on the ingredient side. Usually if a word ends in OSE,
Don't.
it has sugar in it. So here's all different types of sugars that manufacturers add to our food. Agave nectar, cane sugar, caramel, dextrin, dextrose, sucrose, molasses, lactose. All of these are sugar. And your body responds to every single one of them the same way. So, and the other things that manufacturers do, when they have to put the ingredients on the label, the first ingredient you see on the label is what has the highest amount in it, right? So what they say is, okay, fine. If we put 4 different types of sugar in, we can put it in the middle of the label. Because people aren't going to think, oh, wow, that's a lot of sugar. So, you know, they might vary a 1/4 cup of fructose, a 1/4 cup of sucrose, a 1/4 cup of dextrose, and a 1/4 cup of corn syrup, which is 1 cup of sugar, right in the middle of the label. So they always are looking for ways to deceive us. They've been very, very, very clever. They know the more sugar you eat, the more money they make. Okay, there's another hide and seek. There are lots of foods that we eat that we really don't think have sugar in them, right? like spaghetti sauce. Actually, marinara sauce is pretty good for you. It's made out of tomatoes, it has lots of lycopene in it, and tomatoes, when you cook them, create more lycopene, and people who have high lycopene in their bloodstream live longer. So spaghetti sauce is good, but a half a cup has 3 teaspoons of corn syrup in it. Now, who has a half a cup on their pasta? Ketchup is 20% sugar, 7% sodium in 1 tablespoon. Reduced fat cookies, what do they do when they take the fat out of cookies?
Add sugar.
Yeah, add sugar. Which is worse for you, fat or sugar? Sugar. Sugar is worse for you than fat, and when I come back and do the fat class, you'll find out why. Low-fat salad dressing, same thing. They take out the fat and they put in sugar. Obviously, you go to the bakery, you look at breads. Breads can have 10 grams of sugar in them. Look for breads that have less sugar in them. And any of your fast foods have sugar in them. And here's some examples. I used to love to go to Boston and go to the Cheesecake Factory. Oh, yum. Blackout cake. I knew it had a lot of calories. 1,330 calories. 1 piece. 38 teaspoons of sugar. 38. I'm supposed to have 6 a day. But that's doing me for the week. And then I used to, when I ran a long time ago, I would have Kellogg's Special K protein bars. Okay, low calories, 170 calories, 4 teaspoons of sugar. So as a woman, I've had my 4 teaspoons of added sugar. I've only got 2 left for the rest of the day. So read labels. Get a sense of how much sugar is in food. Oh, and Cinnabons. You go to the mall, right? And you smell that smell of the Cinnabon. And you have to buy it, right? That's how many teaspoons of sugar is in one of them. So when you buy it, I want you to cut it in quarters, bring it home, freeze the rest, and have a little every day. All right, artificial sweeteners. Let's talk about them. Because a lot of us who try not to eat sugar use artificial sweeteners. I do in my coffee. There's a lot of controversy around artificial sweeteners. There's stevia, Splenda, equal, sweet and low. They're all the same. But the Food and Drug Administration has approved artificial sweeteners in moderation. So generally, if you're not like overdosing on them, they're not going to hurt you. What are artificial sweeteners? They have no sugar in them, okay, so that's good. There's no carbohydrates. There's no calories. So when you eat an artificial sweetener, you're not putting a lot of extra calories in your mouth. But they do provide a sweet taste. So they have no sugar, they have no carbs, so they have no calories. What are they made out of? Do you suppose? Chemicals. Chemicals. How about chemicals? So they don't hurt you. As long as you don't mind putting chemicals in your body. All right. Domino's packaging says, made from sugar, so it tastes like sugar. That's their slogan. But Splenda came out of a chemistry lab. Bottom line. The most successful sugar substitutes have been discovered by accident. Saccharin was invented 130 years ago by 2 chemists at Johns Hopkins University. And what were they doing? They were experimenting with coal tar derivatives. That's what that comes from. Equal. A medical chemist in Illinois was investigating a drug for gastric ulcers, and he invented Equal. Okay? Sucralose was discovered in 1976 by a student at a college. His researcher told him to test certain compounds, and instead he tasted them. And he put together compounds that eventually became sucralose, which is used in most diet soda products. Truvia, this is the one that broke my heart, because I really, really believed the marketing. It's sugar-based substitute. It was developed by the Coca-Cola Company in Cargill. And look what it's made of.
Oh, gosh.
Is this natural? This, and natural flavors. Those are chemicals, folks. And because it comes from the stevia plant, like a teeny bit, Cargill calls it a natural sweetener, and they've been sued many times over for bad marketing. It's not a natural sweetener, it's chemistry. Okay. We're gonna have another snack. And a lot of times people, especially if you hike and things like that, you get granola, right? And you think, oh, this is a good, healthy snack to have. It has fruit in it and grain in it. Oh, that's true. Also, most of your commercially produced granolas that you can buy at the store, loaded with sugar. So, here's a granola, and we'll give you the recipe. It's made out of old-fashioned oats, a little bit of honey, a little bit of cinnamon. And I didn't have a lot of dried fruit, so all I have in there is craisins, but you could throw some dried fruit in there, and a little bit of almonds. Half the calories in terms of sugar than what you would buy at a store. Easy to make, doesn't take any time at all. Put it in a Tupperware container, it will last you for 6 months. Okay, so let's talk about the downside of eating too much sugar. Gaining weight, obviously, we all know that, is one of the negative effects of eating too much sugar. And if you are addicted to sugar, you have to ask yourself, is it really worth it? What other things do too much sugar do? It suppresses your immune system. That means you have more difficulty fighting bacterial infections. It increases your risk of blood clots and strokes. It contributes, and you probably know this with kids, to hyperactivity, anxiety, depression, and difficulty concentrating. Is all that sugar really worth it? Excess sugar can lead to hypoglycemia. What does hypoglycemia mean? It means low sugar in the blood. Because if you eat too much sugar, your body releases insulin. What does insulin do? Take all that sugar out of your blood, and then you have hypoglycemia, which means you can get confused, you can pass out, not good things. Kidney damage. It can elevate your your cholesterol, your LDL. It can cause cardiovascular disease. We know it causes tooth decay. And I didn't know this. I wish I knew this before I turned 70. It speeds up the aging process, including getting wrinkles. People who eat way too much sugar, their skin tends to wrinkle more. So Donna will pass you a handout with some tips on how to cut down on sugar. I'd love to say, just say no. Yeah, right? You and I all know it's not easy to just say no. It is really, if you said, I'm going to cut sugar out of my diet, I'm telling you, it's almost impossible to do. First of all, if you decide to cut sugar out of your diet, it takes 4 days to get all the sugar out of your body. If you could live 4 days, you're a real BITCH or something like that, while you're trying to get the sugar out of your body. If you could survive 4 days with absolutely having no sugar, you might be able to stop the urge for sugar. But it's really hard for most of the people to do. So if you're really having a sugar craving, you gotta try to do something else. So get up out of your chair, go do a puzzle, take a walk, do something, distract your brain. If you do make a decision that you're gonna try to get sugar out of your body, plan on it taking 3 to 4 days, and plan on not feeling good emotionally about it, because it does mess you up. Remember, if you're going to try to just control your sugar, for a woman, no more than 6 teaspoons a day, 9 teaspoons for a man, so enjoy your sugar. Just control it, okay? There are things you can do to sometimes trick your taste buds into thinking things are sweet. I've tried them, they work for a little while, usually not for very long. But you can try adding ginger or cinnamon or nutmeg or vanilla to your coffee, to your cereal, to your yogurt, just to give it a little bit of flavor. The big one to watch out for, if you do drink soda and things like that, really watch out for the amount of sugar that's in them. Nobody got fat eating fruit, so if you want sugar, try fruit first before going to the cake or the donut or something like that. Try to read labels. Many manufacturers are responsible and are now putting less sugar in food. So, look, if you're buying marinara sauce, check for the marinara sauce that has less sugar in it. Cut down your portions. And let's say you want to have a nice ice cream sundae, right? And you know it has a lot of sugar in it, but you're going to really enjoy it with your grandchild. What should you do? Take a walk. Exercise before you're going to eat all that sugar, because why? When you exercise, what do your muscle cells need? Sugar. So your muscles are taking sugar out of your bloodstream. So after you exercise, you've eliminated a lot of sugar that was in your bloodstream. You now sit down and enjoy your chocolate sundae, and you're replenishing the sugar that you took out of your bloodstream. So that's another way to manage sugar better. All right. I think one of the most important lessons to learn, I have friends, I grew up in the nuts and berries time, we wore big granola skirts and bras and all that stuff. And we thought we were the granola people. And we thought agave was healthy. That's not sugar. That is baloney. That is marketing. Sugar is sugar. It doesn't matter what you call it. Your body responds the same way. Honey's delicious. My mother thinks it's much more natural and better. It's the same amount of calories, and your body responds the same way. So don't be confused by marketing terms like natural or healthy. Not true. Okay. One sugar is no better or more nutritious than any other sugars. So, remember, try to read food labels on processed food. Don't have more than 6 to 9 teaspoons of added sugar every day. There's a great website. It's called Sugar Stacks. Okay? And what you do with Sugar Stacks, just Google it. Look up any food you want. I looked up peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because what do I give my granddaughter? Peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Look how much sugar I'm giving her. She's already hyper. She doesn't need any more. So what did I do? I said, okay, I'm going to take the jelly out and I'm going to slice some bananas. So now she has peanut butter and banana sandwich. Going to cut down half of the sugar. So there's small things you can do where you can still enjoy sugar, but not have quite so much. And remember, you have to eat that donut outdoors. Nobody wants to inhale secondhand cars. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me. I hope this was informative to you and gets you to think a little bit when you go shopping, or if you eat your food here, ask the kitchen how much sugar they're putting in your food to make it taste good, right? All right, so thank you very much.